Welcome back to the Cartel Hour for Part 2 of Buffalo Trace. If you haven't seen Part 1, go back an episode to the beginning where we got to taste Old Charter, E.H. Taylor Single Barrel, Eagle Rare, and Weller Antique 107. On this episode, we jump right back in with Katy O'Donnell from Sazerac and Wen Ye and Arash Farzaneh from the Los Angeles bar Neat to taste Weller 12, Hancock's Reserve, Elmer T. Lee, Rock Hill Farms, and the extremely rare and coveted George T. Stagg. We're here to learn a little bit and drink a little bit. So grab a glass and let's enjoy.
Now we're on Weller 12 Black Label, guys. 90 proof. And then the antique version of this one is 18 year, 17 year.
The William LaRue Weller?
The William LaRue Weller is how old?
Anywhere between 12 to 15 years.
12 to 15,
Yeah.
Sorry, yep.
But it's at, what, 63% or 61%?
It's whatever, I mean.
Oh, shit.
It depends. It all changes.
What's the color on that one label?
It's
The color?
Oh,
it's
no,
clear.
it's a tall. It's one of the antiques.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
I
It's
see.
a Buffalo
Yeah.
Trace antique
It
collection.
looks,
I
So
see.
it looks
the
just like
packaging
the
is very
George T.
similar to the
Stagg.
George T. Stagg, yeah.
So there's no real
okay.
like labels.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the bottom, it's just a clear.
Clear and
like,
then everything
writing.
at the bottom, yeah.
That one is my favorite.
Yeah, when you get into the antique collection, you're looking at your uncut, unfiltered version.
Uncut, unfiltered.
Yeah.
And older. I mean, I wish they would
Traditionally
do,
older, but not necessarily.
I wish they would do more uncut, unfiltered at the younger ages
Yeah.
and blends of
Yeah.
7 to 8 or 6 to 8 year old. I think
That would
we
be
would
fun to
all
see.
be very cool with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, Stagg Jr. is...
Stagg Jr.
Stagg
We need
Jr.
a
is
Weller
perfect.
Jr. We need an Eagle Jr.
The
Taylor
junior
Jr.
line.
See, for me, already this nose is wildly more complex than the last
Yes.
one. I mean, it's already so rich, and it dances between everything from like brighter citrus to really dark char and chocolatey, and it's layered. It's super layered. It's a little bit darker in color as far as I can tell too.
It's got another 5 years.
Yeah.
And still more, and even more approachable.
That marshmallow mouthfeel is insane.
It's insane.
It's like a cloud.
It feels like a cushion on your
Yeah,
on your
it's
tongue.
like it's like chewing on a bourbon cloud. It's awesome. This is good whiskey.
So I asked the Buffalo Trace rep, the actual person. So I was asking him the difference between Weller 12 and Pappy Van Winkle 12. Just different parts of the rickhouse.
Different parts of the rickhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's how Old Forester does it. It's
that-
all the same. It's all the same mash bill, and they just pick from different years and different parts of the rickhouse, and that's really it. Different blends from different years, but it's all one mash bill. So even having 3 mash bills, 4 mash bills here on the table, like you're
It's
already
fun.
in a world of difference.
Yeah.
By far the best whiskey I think I've had today.
Yeah, this takes the cake so far for me.
It is. It's there's the marshmallow thing, but it's almost like a taffy thing going on
Yeah.
for me too. Mm-hmm. It's chewy.
It is chewy.
And it just sits. I mean, it's one of those things where I almost could go a couple of minutes in between sipping because it just sits there and stays there forever. It
Right.
feels like it just hangs on.
And then imagine if it's fortified to like 60%. How long that would.
Yeah, and what I really like is the fact that I'm getting those nice sweeter wheat notes.
Yeah.
But I'm also getting darker notes as well.
Yes.
And that's this to me is a far more complex whiskey than the red label.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that easily vaults it into a league above for me. Let's put it this way: in this one, I can believe the hype.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For me, this
Well,
one
it's
is
got 5 years on it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This one's definitely like a low A for me.
What are your favorite bourbons, Cameron?
I've kind of gone all over the map. I mean, if we look at, I don't know, I approach things from such a different perspective, right? Because I didn't grow up in spirits, right? I cut my teeth on beer. And so a lot of it really has to do with, certainly with mouthfeel. It's a huge part of it for me. I always tell people the things that I look for. I want a whiskey or a spirit in general. I want it to be. It needs to be well-rounded enough, but it also needs to make a statement.
Mm-hmm.
And those two things are so hard to get that perfect balance on. And actually, I do think that this falls into that category because it doesn't have any edges sticking out, but yet no one's going to say, oh, this is too smooth. It's
Right.
too well blended.
Right.
You see why this was put out. And I think that's, to me, that it always goes back to the blenders and the distillers saying, why does this have to exist? When you have an entire lineup of different things, why put this one out? Why not just blend it in with something else, or why not keep it in the back? Why release this as its own thing, you know, above and beyond something else? And it's a fine line, and I think this does it. It's an A- for me.
I'm at an A, and
Yeah.
here's my one thing. It's a low A. It's like a 94 is an A, right?
Yeah, 90.
You're all about the
93 is an A
math
minus.
today,
Yeah.
Seth.
I just don't remember where the cutoff is. At 3 and 7. Anyways, but I think the sentiment, Cameron, that you just said, the idea that everything needs to. That's why I created the brands I created. Things need to exist for a reason. They have to do something that has a purpose.
Right.
Things shouldn't just exist just because. Otherwise, you just end up with a lot more of the same. The ones that were doing it first kind of got there first, and
Right.
the rest of us are left trying to figure out what hasn't been done. So, with this, here's the one thing I'll say though: when drinking them side, I don't think I had them next to each other the last time I tried it. So it's nice to have Antique then 12
Right.
back to back, and especially in the context of other products from this distillery, and we've got a few more to go, but. This one I would not put over ice. I would actually take the Antique over a rock over this one because of the nuance. There's some subtle flavors. There's like little like berries in there and like fruit jelly something going on.
I think
like
you're
grape
right.
jelly.
I think the rock would unleash a lot more complexity in the 107.
higher proof too.
Right,
it can take
right.
it.
You
It
know.
can take that watering down a little bit better than maybe the 45er
Absolutely.
versus the 53 and a half. So I'm if I'm doing if it's hot, if it's summer and I need a rock, I'm going Weller Antique.
Absolutely.
Because neck and neck, I don't think I'd put a rock on this
No.
Weller.
No.
It's
Yeah,
already
this is
needed.
something in
Like,
front of
it would kill
the
it.
in
It's
front of
gonna
the
water it
fire
down,
in
yeah.
fall.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
it's right there. Well, Seth, you have who hasn't given a grade?
I'm with the A too.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm with
fantastic.
91, 92.
And Katie, you said is this your favorite Weller?
So far.
One of?
Of this mash bill, I prefer the Pappy 15, but the Weller 12 is second.
Yeah, if you can't get your
Yeah.
hands on Pappy 15, there you
Now,
go.
would
I can
you,
appreciate that.
Now, we don't have them in front of us, but there's a blue label, and there just came out like a peanut buttery orange label.
They're calling it pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice, yeah. It's an odd
Can I
color because
ask
they
them
kept
to reconsider that?
No, it's not the distillery. It's the fans.
Oh,
the Weller
okay, okay.
fanboys are
Can I
calling
ask
it
them
pumpkin.
to reconsider?
Please.
Okay.
Because I think it's just really funny.
Is
It's
that-
such
it's
a
like
limited release.
Yellow font on like on a like orange,
orange.
label.
Mhm.
It's yellow over orange,
Yeah.
which is weird. It's
Yeah.
like color designer, a regular graphic designer would be like, my wife's a graphic designer. She'd be like, guys,
Why?
Why didn't you make
So-
it purple? I don't know. I don't know
It's crazy.
I don't know the science behind the labeling.
These labels are just super simple.
Yeah,
There's
they're
no,
ve- and
they're
they're
not, there's
recognizable.
no raised lettering. There's no gold
Yeah.
foiling. There's no embossing or other things.
Do you remember the older style? The
Yeah,
older
those
Weller
look
labels?
like
yeah.
they look like very old
It looked
Barton.
like a
It was the
pot
old
still.
Barton's
Yeah.
bottle. You know the very old Barton's bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it was
short-
that
short
bottle.
kind of, yeah.
Short
Yeah.
bottle,
It's like a
long
hand
neck.
grenade,
Yep.
the-
So,
like a hand grenade.
So who knows what Hancock refers to?
I do not. I would love to know
I
that.
don't remember.
Tell us, Katie.
You want to search your notes? Search your book?
let me tell you.
Hey, this isn't an open book test, okay?
So back to late 1700s on the Kentucky River in Frankfort, Kentucky, where Buffalo Trace Distillery now lives. Two brothers, they were known as the Lee brothers, were the pioneers who were following the buffaloes through their traces to find the river, which is what they found. And then they set up shop there and they started distilling. Hancock was one of the brothers' first names. So this is an homage to actually the founding fathers of the land of Trace Distillery. Hancock Lee.
And this is 88.9 proof, guys.
88.9.
Which
This is a single barrel, right?
second?
And
This is
reserve.
actually one of the second lightest
Wow.
after.
This is Yeah.
So what's funny is
Very
everything in
light.
this mash bill, other than ancient age, they're all single barrels. So you have Blantons, you have Elmer T. Lee, you have Hancock, Rock Hill. They're all single barrels.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. Yeah, the mouthfeel is very vastly different.
And it just kind of evaporates very quickly. There isn't that much of a lingering finish.
It's almost floral to me.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is very
Yeah.
floral.
Or effervescent.
It's almost
It's like-
mineral-esque, and
Yeah.
it's it's.
It almost tastes healthy.
It's hydrating.
Man, I feel great.
I
Let
feel like
me
I
tell
just drank
you.
some water.
Well, these are the higher rye mash bills. That they
Yeah.
have. For the next 3 of them, these 3 are all going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
higher rye.
Interesting. I don't get this jumping out as a rye to me.
No,
Not like
It's there when you dig, but it's not. It's
the
not
backbone of it is very much. I do taste the rye, but I'm only getting a few notes. It's not.
Hancock
don't
Reserve.
know.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
What's the age
Uh,
range?
It's got to be under 8 because that's where.
Yeah.
My issue is it punches nice and hard in the middle with like this caramel barrel, but it's not a ton on the nose and it falls off on the mouthfeel.
I think it's
Yeah.
a great transition from old Charter 8-year to move to this.
Number.
Yeah,
8.
number 8. Sorry, number 8. Yes.
No.
This is a whiskey I would drink a lot of.
Right.
You know,
Right.
over a long
Right.
period of time. Like
Yes.
if I was watching through a few shows and was just drinking bourbon that night, I would
Absolutely.
just keep pouring this, not feel bad about it.
Yeah.
This is not one of the more expensive or
No.
harder to find
Right.
bottlings that they do. Although maybe now it's starting to get harder to find, but it's certainly an easy sipper.
yeah.
I mean, I could drink like 6 glasses.
And
of
what's the
this, no
price
problem.
point? It's not a very high price point, is it?
No, I don't think so. No, it's generally around
40s or
like
50s.
40 to 50s, maybe
That's
60s
interesting,
online.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's other things in the $50, $60 range that I would rather have. At 40, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't shake this minerality in it. That
I would go back to the Colonel if it was
Agreed.
between
As
the
soon as you
batch.
go into
I'd
the
go
$50
small
range,
batch.
I'd easy go into
Colonel
each
small batch over this all day for me. But
Yeah.
But I think it's for people who are just wading into the bourbon waters. It is very approachable. It is a very easy sipper.
I'm
Yeah.
at like an 83 B minus.
I would agree.
I
One
think
hundred-
Yeah,
it's
I'm at a
a
B minus.
I think
Maybe
it's a good,
Uh,
easy drinking bourbon.
Very.
This is every day. I mean,
Yeah. Well, in speaking of, so when I'm thinking about like minerality, one of the things that I think about is the limestone. The
Uh-huh.
limestone that filters the water at Buffalo Trace. Katy, do you have any, because in my mind, I'm thinking I'm literally watching these guys, following these buffaloes, and then they go to this, kind of slightly green rock and then flowing water, and they're just like, whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's way better than that. But do you have any information in terms of that, in terms of like the limestone, the water, and why that is so prominent today?
Yeah, the limestone water has so much to do with all whiskey. I mean, basically all whiskey coming out of Kentucky is going to have access to this water, which is why many will argue that the best bourbon comes from Kentucky, because limestone water cannot be found everywhere. So it's definitely, and there's science to it, right? So there's a chemical reaction, and I am not a chemist and I am not a scientist, and as many times as people tell me it's these elements and these minerals that are at the forefront of limestone, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but they do impact a lot of flavor, and they do impact the way that the whiskey works with the wood. They impact a lot of things. So you're adding this limestone water right after distillation, because you usually have to proof down to 125 to
Right,
go into the
right.
barrel. So when it comes off the still around 160, you have to add a considerable amount of water then. So then you have the interaction with the charred wood and the limestone water and the whiskey. And then when it comes out, again, you add more of that into it. So where we all, I think that the drinking community, especially in the bourbon enthusiast culture, is leaning more towards this uncut, unfiltered, I want to taste what it tastes like when it comes out of the barrel.
Yeah.
But there is a lot to be said for how much water gets added into some of these bottles and what that does
Yeah.
on that end of it too. Yeah, the limestone water has so much to do with it, and it is the reason for choosing that place to make the whiskey.
You could
too.
say it's the bedrock of bourbon.
It wouldn't be a
there you go.
podcast without one of your puns, Seth. I appreciate
Dad
that.
jokes. I'm going to be a father,
appreciate-
so.
Oh, yes.
I love
you-
it.
Wait, is that the first you're publicly announcing this on the podcast?
Yeah, my wife is pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations.
There you go.
Cheers.
Cheers to
Podcast
that.
Yeah, well,
community
cheers.
aware.
Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah, I gave my grade.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
gave
so
your
you-
grade.
Yes.
I'm at a B
Yeah,
too.
B.
I'm at a
B.
B. A low B.
Low B.
Yeah, I'm at
Low
a
B.
I'm at a
I'm
B
B
minus.
minus.
It's fine. It's fine.
Cool. Okay, so clearly you can see I've had a couple of these.
Yeah, I actually want Katy to introduce this.
Yes.
Okay.
Intro.
All right, so we're about to drink what I consider my favorite bottle coming out of Buffalo Trace.
Well, you haven't had the Rock Hill
I
Farms yet.
haven't had one of the ones
So,
you're about
okay.
to
At
drink.
least up to this
The
point.
point.
Up
Yes.
until now.
Yes, up until now.
I have
yeah.
a question about this one. So once you've introed,
Okay,
Sorry,
cool.
I
so
interrupted. I got
we
excited.
are about to have Elmer T. Lee. Elmer T. Lee is a 12-year-old single barrel coming out of mash bill number 2 out of Buffalo Trace, which is a slightly higher rye. It is in no means a high rye bourbon. I just kind of want to clarify that. Even though we're increasing the rye from mash bill number 2, it's not going all the way to high rye. So still pretty traditional mash bill. Elmer T. Lee, this to me is this is my favorite bottle. Maybe because I really have a passion for the gentleman who's the namesake, Elmer T. Lee.
What's the T?
I don't know what the T is.
Ugh.
I would
Gotta
think
find
it's like
out.
Theodore.
I'm guessing Thomas, but
Or Thomas.
Yeah, sure.
Theodore Thomas. Who knows?
it's got to be one of those.
50-50 shot.
So Elmer T. Lee, in my opinion, really paved the way for what we're drinking today because he was unafraid of that, what we often refer to as the dark ages of whiskey and bourbon, which was the 70s and 80s when no one was drinking it. I mean, he plowed through that, and what he did during that was he created the world's first single barrel, Blanton's. 1984 was when the
was
world's
he like
first
pulling
single barrel
stuff
bourbon.
from his back stock for parties and stuff?
Yeah,
or-
so the story goes that Blanton, when Colonel Blanton was in charge of the distillery, he had a house at the edge of the property, and he would pick his honey barrels. He would go find his favorite barrels.
it was the party house.
and he would roll, he would roll those barrels down the hill to the party house and have a party with these barrels. So he was considered, he knew about single barrels before anybody else did, and he was using them and entertaining with them. So Elmer T. Lee, when he got reins of the distillery as an homage to Blanton, created the world's first single barrel. So I just think that's really cool. If you look at it today, there's not a distillery that doesn't do a single barrel. And it all started with Elmer T. Lee. And so maybe that imparts a lot of my respect into this bottle, but I also really enjoy the way it tastes.
Can I add a little bit?
Yeah.
He created Albert Blanton, the single barrel, because as a homage to him, because he hired Elmer T. Lee as someone with zero experience. He just joined the distillery. He's like, I just need a job. He's like, I like your gumption. Come on, join up.
Worked
And
his
then
way
he
up.
became-
I need a
became
job. I like your
the top
gumption.
guy there.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. I mean, this is Los Angeles, so I always think about the guy in the mailroom who goes on to direct, right? And how many steps of the process do you have an appreciation for when you start at the bottom and you weren't born and bred into this, like a lot of the families were,
I think of like Harrison Ford mopping up on the Star Wars set.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's cool because actually it says here like Harrison Blanton created the first distillery in 1812. Like he was the creator of Buffalo Trace. So naming it after him makes perfect sense. Or naming it after the family line of Blanton.
Yeah.
Was Albert the son then?
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh,
I don't know.
Just so
We can look that up.
one,
New
I don't know if
insight.
you know this, but both Blanton's and Elmer are actually brands that are owned by the Japanese. That's why you only see those bottles, those Blanton bottles, the Japanese ones. They're only available in Japan.
Yeah, so
they-
I went to Japan and saw a number of offerings. And I bought 2 of them that were available with Japanese lettering. And had I known better, I would have gotten the cast strength stuff. But I was just getting my teeth really into bourbon. I was more of a Scotch guy at the time. And I had this thing where I would travel and I would buy whatever was like unique there. So I didn't really think to buy American whiskey in Japan. I was buying Japanese whiskey in Japan. So I bought Nika this and, Takatsuru and all these things. And I was really focused on getting good Japanese whiskey. And I saw these Blantons and I'm like, oh, these have Japanese writing on them. That's cool. I brought them back and they're like, oh, these are worth $1 bajillion. I'm like, that's great. But then I realized that they actually had, and I saw and could have bought however many I wanted of, straight from the barrel or all these other like really hard to find Blantons. I'm like, I got to go back to Asia now. I need to go back to Japan and Singapore and like all these places I went to. Crazy. So this is awesome whiskey. I finished mine and it is certainly, it's fun because they're both 12 year. They're both 45% between this and the Weller 12. Having them both side by side, I originally said that Elmer T. Lee was one of the best 45%ers on the shelf.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of feeling like the Weller I might like better. So I don't know. Now that I'm trying them side by side,
Might have
it's tough.
sweet tooth.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
My bias is showing because I actually think the Elmer T. Lee edges out.
Yeah.
I think this is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah. See, this one I'm at an A-, and I was an A on the other 12.
Yeah.
I'm at an A. I love Elmer T. Lee.
You're in the same kind of like this and the Weller 12 or the same.
I love them both.
So Katy,
Yeah.
this or the Weller 12, this is the one for you?
Yeah.
This one edges it out?
Yeah.
This is it.
No opinions were changed in today's tasting so far?
Not so far.
Well, until we get to the Rock Hill Farms.
Not so far.
Yeah.
You think Rock Hill Farms is going to change your mind?
Well, she hasn't tried it
You know
yet.
what? She
That's the
hasn't
one
tried
she
it yet,
hasn't.
but my money is, well, I guess it depends if you
Yeah.
want a little more oomph.
Yeah.
Because for me, the Rock Hill Farms is basically the Elmer T. Lee, but with a little more
Oomph.
firepower.
See, what's
5%
great about
yeah.
this, though, is that if you blind tasted me on Elmer T. Lee, I would have said it's way higher proof than it is.
That's
Because of the flavor. It's because the amount of flavor.
The layers of flavor, you
Right.
know? I mean, it hits with far higher proof than it should, you know?
It does. When you drink it side by side to the Weller 12, I would think it was higher in
Yeah,
proof.
absolutely.
To me, it's just a treat.
It is.
It is everything that I like. You were referencing a dessert. Like to me, it's like a candy it's my candy bourbon. You know, it's whenever I see it, I have to have it, and my expense account doesn't cover it. By the way, so
And I love the packaging. I love the shape of the bottle. It looks very elegant.
Yes.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
And I think you know the answer. What's the difference between this and the 100-year anniversary or 100th? There's a second bottling of Elmer T.
Yeah.
Lee. It has
Yeah.
some writing on it.
Yep.
I don't really understand what the
I
difference is.
think it has like a black. There's
There's a black 100 in the background where you see his
Do you guys
face.
know
So
what is that older or something done to it to make it
I don't
different?
know
I know
if
it
there is
sells.
anything.
I know it's more limited and has like
Yeah.
a different package to it. But
I have to follow up with you on that one.
okay, we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
If you want to
Put
follow up
something.
and send us a bottle, yeah, we're okay.
Yeah, if we need to get together for a second episode
Yeah,
and,
okay,
and
okay,
do
yeah.
it.
Stand in line. 'Cause
Yep.
We're not above begging on this podcast, okay?
I mean, yeah. If you like, Elmer T. Lee is only released twice a year from the distillery.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So that's really where the rarity comes in and where the price gets pushed up is that only 2 times a year will you see this land in your market. Whereas, you know, Buffalo Trace Eagle, where they're on and Weller, they're on a constant influx
Right.
into,
Yeah.
into the market. So that's what you're looking at. That makes it special. Maybe that's what also makes me like it more is that, you know, you have to it has to find you. You have to find it.
I think if you're driving around, you know, you could save yourself the time, go online and find these things. But again, yeah, I think a lot of these are more or less equally hard to find. 12, Antique, Rock Hill, and Elmer are all very challenging to get your hands on right now, especially as
I
California.
think the only one that you'll be able to find on a kind of semi-consistent basis would be Eagle Rare.
Eagle and mid.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
I found the EH small batches.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Relatively,
yeah.
you know, I'll see it for like anywhere from 40 to 70,
Uh-huh.
and it's not the worst thing to pay like a little over $50 for.
Right.
If I was driving around, needed something to bring to a party, I would buy
Small batch.
I'd
Oh,
yeah.
spend $50 on small
Yeah,
batch.
Absolutely.
So guys, it's time. We're going Rock Hill Farms.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
when is
First time.
the Rock Hill Farms also owned by the Japanese?
No. Is it? No, I'm pretty sure only Blanton's and Elmer, but is it?
Katy has
Well, she knows better than I do.
something to say.
She knows. That's
So we have an agreement with Mash Bill number 2, where there are Buffalo Trace is not the sole owner of Mash Bill number 2. So anything coming out of this mash bill, I'm not sure logistically speaking which brands are or aren't. That's above my pay grade, but. Yeah, mash bill number 2 has those relationships outside of Kentucky.
Interesting.
And then another fun factoid that Wen enlightened me on is that before we leave the Japanese-owned product, or one of the Japanese-owned brands, is that the Japanese saved the
Bourbon market.
You
guys familiar with that?
Let's dive. We might be, but the audience may not be. So let's dive
just
into
a
it.
quick TLDR.
Yeah.
In the 80s, when all whiskeys were just worthless, people couldn't give them away, the Japanese literally saved the market because they made up, I think, over 50% of the production of bourbon was shipped to Japan because they loved it. They ate it all up, and that's what kept quite a few distilleries alive.
Interesting. Yeah, and again,
and
we'll post some pictures of the Japanese bottles of Blantons, and there's a lot of cool stuff with Blantons. I think they've done a lot of special releases in Japan, and I know that this company, Buffalo Trace, has done a lot of cool one-offs with them and products that go, to that market that we don't get. But if you make it to Japan, look for Buffalo Trace. Don't just give in to all Japanese whiskey. Save some room in your suitcase, people.
It really does fall in line with, I would say, the Japanese palate, where Elmer T. Lee is a little. I hate to use the word light, but the complexity, the subtleness,
Softer,
of it.
yeah.
It is softer. It has a little more citrus notes. It's just, it really is very reflective.
I wouldn't add ice to that either.
I would not. No.
Mess it up.
It's totally unnecessary. Yeah.
Now, how many times do people come into the bar and ask for ice with these products?
So what I've learned, I've pivot is I always offer.
You serve it
I
neat?
will never say no.
At neat?
Exactly. But what I always gently recommend, try it first, get a good reference point by trying it neat, and I will serve you a cube on the side. So if you feel that it needs it, then you're more than welcome to obviously pour it over the cube. But I always gently recommend for every person to try the spirit neat first, just so you have a reference point. And then it's subjective to you whether or not you want, some people do enjoy it over ice.
I mean, you make the joke every time when you serve it. You're like, you got to try it. You look up at the sign and the.
I stopped making the joke because my guests do that for me. Yeah, exactly.
I like that though, because here's the thing: it's one thing to say, "Hey, I'll put it on the rocks for you if you want it,"
right?
And another to say, here is it neat, and here's another glass with the cube.
That's exactly what we do.
You get to do it if you want to do it.
Well,
That's such a psychological. It's so
you give them the power.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And you allow them to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
Instead of me telling you how you should drink something.
Yeah.
I'm here simply. I can impart my advice, but it doesn't. It's not the end all.
Yeah.
You should, because that's the beauty of what we do is. It's all subjective. There is no right answer.
Yeah.
If you want to put it and do a splash of Coke on it, you're more than welcome to, because it's your experience. Mm-hmm. It's like art.
I did slightly cringe inside.
Yeah, I know you did. Well, I would have people come in and ask for Yamazaki 12, with Coke, and I didn't bat an eye, and I said absolutely, because the price doesn't change. And your money's
Fair
still
enough.
green, and if you're still walking out happy, then I'm happy.
Good. Exactly. Guys, I'm halfway through my glass. That's awesome.
So now,
I might have to get the
Arash,
bottle.
you said you're a big fan of this one.
This is one of my. This is my second favorite out of the entire Buffalo Trace line. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask, what's the first?
The first, and I've said it many times. The first is William LaRue Weller.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Which sadly we
For
don't have on
sure.
the table. Maybe we'll get ahead. I actually haven't had it. So why does this take number 2 for you?
Because it's everything I enjoy about the Elmer T. Lee, but with 5% more alcohol.
It's like a peppier cheerleader to the Elmer T. Lee.
Exactly.
In my brain.
Right. It's a bolder Elmer T. Lee.
How much
for
I love
me.
Elmer T. Lee. This is like.
You know, it's interesting because I've never had this either.
So
and
same.
Well, I may have been primed for this, but I'm totally with you. I mean, it is that. you get a little bit more body.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
For sure.
Right.
And there's a little bit of heat that comes with it, but it's not a bad. It's
No.
a really nice, lovely, warming heat. Yeah,
You could almost have this over a rock, you know. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't drink it over a rock. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't guide someone otherwise. If they would want to put a cube over this.
Oh,
you
I could do
totally
this
do.
with a rock.
Absolutely, and then it would be too easy to drink.
This is great.
Yeah.
So this is the same mash bill as Elmer.
Yeah.
but
And
a
Blanton's.
little younger.
and Blanton's. That's worth noting
Yeah,
too.
not a
It's the
12.
same
Yeah.
natural
Yeah.
Blanton's.
Yes.
But not a 12-year.
I don't know what
We
the
don't
age
know
is on
that.
this.
But this is this is 50%, 100
50%,
proof.
yeah, right.
Not bottled and bond,
No.
but it is a
just
single
at that.
barrel.
Single barrel.
Correct.
So
I don't think they have any.
monster. I mean,
God, it's
this is
good.
just packed with like
A lot of intense flavors.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
very layered.
It's like
Yeah.
it's
like
like
a little-
this was perfect for the American palate.
tons of caramel,
Yeah.
tons of vanilla.
Yeah. It's
almost
more
like a
robust,
little
more bold.
sourdough.
Yes,
almost. It's like
exactly.
crazy like bread notes on here too.
It's way more intense than the Elmer. Like one of the things I like about Elmer T. Lee is that it feels relaxing for me to drink.
Yes.
Is that,
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a little bit more heightened of an experience. Like there's a little bit more adrenaline as I'm drinking it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I
put.
taste in
More
very strange
adrenaline.
ways.
Yeah.
But it does feel a little bit more amped up.
Yes.
No, that's awesome.
This
Well, no, it's so funny because I always think about like a linear like different spikes when it's tasting, or I think about like this curvature from front to back as I'm tasting. So to be able to give people that are tasting along with us, or that like think about how we kind of mentally digest a tasting, it is kind of fascinating to think about what kind of visual things are happening in your brain as you are tasting this, and how to put that into words so that you can ultimately relay that to somebody else.
the last thing I get is like this is the whiskey equivalent of like that fresh baked Subway bread. When you walk in, when you walk into a Subway and you don't
dare
necessarily
you,
hope
sir.
you want to be, but
Yeah,
like
can we at least call it La Brea Bakery or something?
Yeah,
Are we
exactly.
really doing
Subway is
Subway?
universal.
Panera.
I feel like I'm gonna.
Subway's that universal
Juice
through
up.
line
We've
from
all had that
California to
Subway
the other.
Dude,
moment.
my
Yes,
first
that's
job
true.
ever
It's the
was
most
at Subway.
relatable.
No, I mean there's that crack cocaine like bread smell.
There
Yeah.
is.
This is the
Yeah.
whiskey version of that where it's like, oh my god,
It's like the fumes they
what
pump
the-
at Disneyland.
It's that what the fuck smell that you get where you go, gee, okay,
Right.
shit, this is.
You're already salivating.
It's you smell it in your
And then
mouth,
just-
the sensors
Right.
in your tongue and your gums and your lips are kind of
Are
going off,
activated
like,
immediately.
Your brain's going, okay,
gonna like
whiskey
this.
me now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
Title of this episode is going to be Whiskey Me Now.
whiskey me
That's
now.
great.
This is
That's a good one.
This is
Oh,
crazy.
man.
I'm actually going to set this down. I pour a
Save
little
some,
more,
yeah.
and I'm going to have this
You
last.
You get a lot of
Have
cereal
more.
notes.
Because I really want to get into. So the last one I've not had.
Well, we got to grade this, man.
Done. You guys.
Oh,
go.
okay.
This is a 94, 95. This is a
Yeah,
95.
I'm at
Very
96, like
You know.
at the top of the
This
A.
is
This is a
big
solid
for
A
you.
for me.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
there's a very
95.
few A pluses
Yes,
in the world,
yeah.
and this is an A.
This is a solid A.
This is like my hype man,
like
and
this.
and Elmer T. Lee is like my best friend.
There you
Like they're different people in a way,
Right.
but
It's your wingman.
yeah.
Elmer is like your significant other. Rock Hill's like your mistress.
That gets me excited. Okay, yeah.
Don't tell Elmer.
Right, exactly. Don't tell Elmer
Katie's
about
over at
what
Rock
you've been
Hill
doing with Rock
Farms.
Hill. That's like, you're more experimental. You're doing fun stuff.
Otherwise, Blanton's going to come down and have a word with you. Is there anything up here that you don't carry other than Asian? Other than Old Charter?
No, we carry them
no,
all.
we carry them all.
You carry them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
So
the beauty
there
of
you go. If
Buffalo
you go
Trace.
if you go to Los Angeles, or you're already from Los
Yeah.
Angeles,
You're
go
looking
ahead
to
and
do a
check
fight,
out
man. Oh,
Neat when they
there you
open
go.
back up.
As soon as we're
so
allowed.
TBD.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
But and that's exactly why we offer everything at 1 ounce increments, because a lot of items that we carry people aren't familiar with. So we don't expect you to commit to a full 2-ounce pour.
It's my favorite thing. That you do that.
Try it. If you don't like it,
Kentucky does that. Everywhere in
Yeah.
Kentucky
And it
offers
should
every
be that
whiskey 1 or 2 ounce.
it should be that way.
And even in Japan too, they do that. They
Yeah.
offer things, in half or full pour.
Absolutely.
And
Well, just the
very few
simple fact
bars.
that you guys are doing that plus the flights for people that are spirits connoisseurs, all the way
Or
from people
curious.
that want to
Right.
be,
Yeah.
that want to learn more.
Yeah, they
The
can create their
whole
own flight
lineup,
if they want to,
It seems as though it's just an educational experience for every level.
It is. It only gets tough on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights when people aren't really there for the education anymore.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I think I can intro this last bottle by saying, Seth, when you put out what many of the things that we're tasting tonight, you said, "Man, we don't have any Stagg," and then you guys showed up and
Stagg.
brought some Stagg, and so
not Stagg Jr. This is the George T. This is
Yes.
the
2019.
2019
This is the legit
antique.
shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is my second antique. I've had the Sazerac 18 year. The age on this, as you said, is 12 to 15.
12 to 16. I'm
12
not
to
sure what it
16.
is. Yeah.
It's not a single barrel, therefore.
No,
but
all
it
barrel-
is
but barrel proof.
And
Uncut, unfiltered.
Yeah, uncut, unfiltered.
So-
We're at 63.2. Is that
This
right?
one is
62.45.
Yes.
Percent.
And I'll say,
Percent.
when you had to go up and take a look at that, for better or for worse, because of the very clean bottle, right?
I
I mean,
love
I
the
think that's one of the
packaging.
things that just absolutely stands out about this is everything is centered at the bottom. It's a little small. I mean, some people might say, oh, well, I can't read it from far away. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's a really, really stunning presentation.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
I wish I
This-
had all 5 bottles to put up.
These antique.
Well, hey, if somebody could do it, I mean, I think you might be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
So.
You probably have a good collection.
So-
Yeah.
These antique collections are a true testament to that, to Drew Mayville, the master blender, because these are done annually. So there's really it's almost like you're harvesting that season, or that it's season of what you think the best bourbons are
Right.
of these brands
It's an
or of these
expression
ryes.
of their
Yeah.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. So you can accumulate these through vintages, which is not something that is normally done with bourbon, and it's not done with anything else at Buffalo Trace.
Which it makes it fun that way. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're able to get your hands on multiple vintages, to kind of go. I would love to go down the line.
Vertical tasting?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
We'll just have to go to Old Lightning and try that sometime.
Well, I've said this on a couple of other shows, but I always love any type of line or project that allows somebody's voice to come through year after year.
Yes.
Take things, build on it, and say, what am I tinkering with? What am I super interested in right now? And how can I release the best of what me as a person is most interested in to the public? And when you get that, that's what I kind of equate to art, right? That's the closest
Right.
you can get to seeing something through somebody else's eyes,
Right.
you know? I mean, that's truly special.
Yeah, absolutely.
This might be one of the best whiskeys I've ever had. in my life.
Absolutely.
I drink a lot of whiskey. It really almost digs its talons into your tongue and lets you know that it's not going anywhere.
Nope.
It's not going to be battened down by anything. I mean, this
Wow.
is really one of those whiskeys that it's like a car that hit you and is dragging you along the highway, and you're just like it's unrelenting. It's a monster whiskey.
Yeah.
And
I think this took the second. I think Rock Hill is now my third favorite, and this is my second favorite.
Well, this is something that if you could spend 15 minutes smelling this.
Oh, absolutely. I don't
mean,
have to
it
drink
is-
as much of this.
big
either,
nose.
Huge nose.
Why did you have all the Wellers and all the antiques and all that stuff? Why did you bring this one? What is it about this one that you like?
I just love it. It's I think, well, considering that we're talking about Buffalo Trace, right? I think that's one of the only there's 2 ryes, right? Or the Eagle Rare, the
This is Sazerac
Sazerac
rye,
Sazerac
there's
18, Thomas H. Handy,
And
there's
Pappy
the
rye.
Willem Weller. I think this is probably the most representative of the antique collection of all of Buffalo Trace, so that people can try to get to really understand what they're about.
And which mash bill does this fall in?
Number one.
Number one.
And
So it differs from the rest of them.
No, this is the same as E.H. Taylor,
E.H.
Eagle
Taylor,
Rare,
okay,
and
yeah.
the Old Charter. Yeah.
Right.
When we do release the antique collection, the George T. Stagg does have the largest yield. So in reality, this is the most easily
Accessible,
attainable.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
In
Now,
real.
both of the Stags, George T. Stagg and Stagg Jr. are cast strength. Why is that?
Right.
Do you know what the story is of why they don't have a proofed down version of any Stags?
It's an interesting question. A lot of people come at me, and maybe you've seen some of these memes that are like, oh, this is Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, E.H. Taylor, George T. Stagg. Joke's on you, it's all the same. Like, it's just different brands. But the reality is that we try to highlight our legends throughout history through brands. So yeah, we're using the same mash bill, but it's not the same product, and there's something different for everyone.
Certainly not the same product. 'Cause
No.
when I'm drinking
No,
this
I mean-
wine-
We just drank
I'm
through
sorry.
10 of them.
Yeah,
If you're gonna say that this and Old Charter are the same freaking thing,
No.
I mean,
No chance.
Right. George T. Stagg, so it went E.H. Taylor as the first founding father of Buffalo Trace, so to speak. George T. Stagg was who came in next, so it became the Stagg Distillery. He introduced steam heat, a lot of these, he really pushed the mark on industrialization and how can we make better bourbon more consistently. And so rather than putting him on something that maybe is your everyday drinker, I think trying to highlight his successes and his influence in this more prestigious way is why they went with that.
Which is ironic because it's not chill filtered. Right? In terms of consistency.
Yeah.
It's uncut, unfiltered.
But
So
I also feel like the chill filtration thing has been something that
doesn't necessarily mean it's
I hope
bad,
it
no.
goes away eventually.
Right.
I hope the consumer gets educated enough that we can get away with
Yeah,
ever not
that's
having to
true.
do it.
Right.
It's in place to make the consumer feel comfortable, really.
Of course. So they can
Yeah.
recognize what they're drinking.
Yeah, so that it never clouds over.
Right.
You never see particles floating in it.
for the
these
people
kind of
that
things.
put their bourbon in the freezer, at least. Like, get it-
Yeah, we're
Or they
protecting
get-
them with the
get
chill
to a
filtration.
point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
across
we're
the board.
We're getting to like hazy IPAs, so I hope we can get to that
Hazy
same place
spirits.
with. Well,
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
not
that-
necessarily hazy,
hazy,
but just.
but yeah.
But I do appreciate the fact of like I feel like it's getting back to the roots. In reality, it's getting back to what the original product was.
Right.
You know.
And on
It's
our
like
last
pulp or no
episode, we
pulp.
drank some Malbian, and that was a little cloudy too. I mean,
Yeah.
there was some
Yeah.
mezcal that we had that was really
Albien's fantastic.
starting to get into the cloudiest. We were like looking at it like coconut water almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not bad. In
Kind of-
fact,
No, no, no.
I honestly
Thicker, yeah.
associate cloudy with more flavor.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what
I
it
drink
is.
my
It's
orange
more
juice
flavor
with
there.
pulp, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you drink
Pulp,
your orange
for
juice
sure.
with pulp,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
like most people do. But I mean, anyways,
I wonder if George was using any kind of filtration. Probably wasn't. I mean, you're looking
back
at
then,
late
they thought the
1800s.
filtration was the limestone, right?
Yeah.
That was enough back
Right.
then.
Yeah.
It was like, great, I'm getting this fantastic water. I can do whatever I want to it now.
It's interesting.
yeah, no. So, guys, this was an amazing showcasing of one of the country's most prominent and well-known and most sought-after distilleries, and I think the education we got, Katy and Wen, and and Arash, from a consumer standpoint, what the consumer experience has
Right.
been, and I think that's what the show is really at the end of the day all about, is where it's from, why it exists,
And how it
who's
relates
drinking
to the
it,
consumer, yeah.
how they're drinking it.
Yep.
These are the things that we want listeners to understand, and so I mean, this is kind of one of those episodes where I think we really covered it all.
Yeah, very wide.
I'm at an A+. I'm at a
A+.
98.
Yeah, I mean, this-
A+.
I'm like,
Oh, yeah,
this
this
is one of the
this
best.
whiskey is
Goddamn.
incredible.
I don't even. I don't have words for this, George.
I mean, I want to like quantify it somehow
incredible.
for people and just say like it's got like some dark chocolate notes. It's got some dark fruit notes.
Yes.
It
A
really
lot of stone
has
fruit.
Yeah.
some gripping, like almost tannin, like Cabernet
Yes.
Sauv.
Yeah.
Mouthfeel to it that really gets your tongue activated versus
Yeah.
just your gums and like your
I'm still
esophagus
tasting
and
it,
all
and
that.
I haven't had
yeah.
a sip in a couple
It
minutes.
lingers.
Yeah.
It lets you know it's there from the minute you smell it to the minute you swallow it, and it's just
Right.
like the whole experience from start to finish is just kind of
Beautiful.
pretty advanced. I mean, would I pay $1,000 a bottle or whatever they charge for it?
No, there are very
Maybe
few
not,
things I
but-
pay $1,000 for.
But I mean, it's a very, very, very good whiskey, and it's certainly a really high example of what cask strength and uncut whiskeys should be.
Yes.
And so I'm a big fan of this. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm at an 8+.
Yeah, this is what you're working your way up to through your journey. I mean,
Right.
this is one of those at the peak. Whatever you've been tasting and building up to and exploring and diving into, when you get to this, I mean, if you jumped into this as early on, you'd have no way of even quantifying what you're tasting, let
No.
alone even liking it.
Yeah.
And once you get there, I'd like to go away and write a small book on what I'm tasting in this one. It's incredible. And Seth and I always joke about, like, what are we pouring when the mics turn off. I'm going to be begging Wen to allow me another very small pour of this, because it's absolutely phenomenal, and I agree with you, Seth. It's one of the best things I've ever tasted in the spirits realm.
Any parting thoughts, guys, on this, or last words on Buffalo Trace you want to leave people with?
Well, at the end of the day, what we always encourage our guests for experience, regardless of where it is, what it is, it's always, do I want another drink of this? I want you pour it? Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
Can I get another one? And so a lot of what Buffalo Trace does, like whatever your favorite is, there always leaves you a sense of, I want
Wanting
another
more.
one. Can I
Yeah.
please can I get another one of those, please?
Right.
And that's what we're trying to achieve for, and Buffalo Trace does a lot of that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really do feel that they have an expression for everyone, because it goes against what those memes that Katy was referring to, which is they're all the same but just packaged differently. And it's the exact opposite. I've been able to pair a Buffalo Trace product with every single person that's been able to walk in if they want to try bourbon.
Yeah.
So again, it makes my life easier.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, that definitely that would resonate so hard with Harlan and Drew, because that is their mission, is to create a bourbon for everyone.
Yeah.
To be able to offer through experimentation something that everybody will find, a moment with and want to continue to enjoy, and maybe then expand from there. Buffalo Trace is actually the first American distillery to win Distillery of the Year, which is huge. And they've continued to uphold that year over year. I mean, not winning every year, but definitely winning a lot. And I think that it is that essence of, we honor tradition but embrace change. And what does that look like? So what is the differing in consumers look
Right.
like? How do we entice new people to come in? All of these different things. And so there's really something for everyone, as you tasted through today. And I'm glad you guys found some things that you really liked.
That's a great slogan. We
Right.
honor tradition but embrace change.
Yeah. Well, and the distillery is a historic landmark at this point.
It is, yeah. It is.
And extremely well deserved of that title. So
I recommend going checking it out. They
Yeah.
got
It is
114 buildings.
number
it's a
one
big
on my list,
property.
yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
In the meantime, while you can't go, we've been doing Facebook Live every Wednesday with the distillery, which has been really cool. Last week, Harlan took us on the farm tour to see all of the new rick houses that are being built.
Cool.
They're building one every 4 months, and they're being filled as soon as they go up. It's insane. If you want to go onto their Facebook, and you can see all the different episodes. There's one where Freddie Johnson, who is maybe the most amazing tour guide who ever lived, and he's a legend at Buffalo Trace. He guides you through one. They do a Weller tasting through everything and talk about Weller. So it's a really cool resource while you can't get to the distillery necessarily.
He's on that movie called Neat.
Yeah.
Yes.
No
yes.
shit.
Yeah, he's on
Yeah,
there.
go
They
on
interview him a lot.
Amazon Prime.
I need to watch
and
that.
You can download for like $4. You can download the movie Neat which I'm sure copied you guys in the bar.
Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah.
Even though it came out before you guys, but I think it definitely copied you guys, and you should sue. But no, Freddie's on there,
Yeah.
and Freddie is just clearly a force of whiskey, and just one of those guys that's making it happen. Anyways, this was an amazing episode.
Yeah, no kidding.
We can't thank all three of you guys enough for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Again,
you.
all of these products, I think virtually all these products, are available on caskcartel.com.
Yes.
You can go on, find a bottle, send it to your friends, send it to your family, and that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you guys. Cheers.
Hello, everyone. Cameron and Seth here. Just a few more things before we wrap up. First, you can always head on over to cartelhour.com for the show notes, which will include links to all the spirits mentioned and, of course, consumed on the podcast.
Absolutely. If you're interested in purchasing any of the spirits mentioned on the podcast, go ahead and click any of the links to be taken directly to those spirits, or visit caskcartel.com. They are America's largest online premium spirits marketplace and have been featured in Rolling Stones magazine, Men's Journal, The Wall Street Journal, Forbes, MarketWatch, and many others.
Yeah, they are awesome and super mobile friendly too. They're a fantastic resource to search through different types of spirits, and their platform is easy and straightforward. If you don't love driving around to every single liquor store in town and hoping they have what you're looking for, Cask Cartel is certainly the best e-commerce spirits platform I've personally come across.
Couldn't agree more. And you can find them on social media at Cask Cartel, and you can find us at Cartel Hour for the podcast, where you can find information about upcoming episodes and live tastings at the Infusery.
And speaking of those live tastings, for those living in or visiting the Los Angeles area that are truly intrigued, if you want to drink along with us, we would love to have you come and enjoy an evening at the Infusery to drink through a carefully selected assortment of spirits.
We offer custom flights and have a robust library of over 700 spirits to choose from. Visit our website for more information on how to become a member of the Cartel Club.
And if you're a spirits brand that would like to be featured on the podcast, please email us or send us a direct message on Instagram.
Thank you everyone for listening, and remember to always drink responsibly
And in good company.